Hello everyone, welcome to Community Wise, where it is our objective to give you information to help you be successful. This month I'm very happy and very privileged to have with me Dr. Pennie Murray. Thank you, Pennie, for being with us this month.
Thank you.
It's going to be a very interesting time.
Of course.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here. And you are a industrial psychologist. You have a PhD.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tell us in layman's term, what does that mean?
Well, most people are familiar with industrial or the IO, which is industrial organizational psychology. Organizational psychologists deal with the organization, the health of the organization. Myself, as an industrial psychologist, I deal with the success and health of the employee. Basically, to be honest, I don't care anything about the organization. I'm mainly concerned with the employees of that organization.
Because you know how much that benefits the organization.
It's the organization, the lifeblood of the organization is the employees, right? So my job is to make sure that those employees have all of the opportunities necessary for their complete success. Because a lot of times jobs will say, well, you know, we've got these programs, but does that benefit the growth of that particular employee? And a lot of times, too, we go in and help employees to find out what their career path is. Because a lot of times they'll say, well, I want to be an executive of this organization. But everything that they're doing, the skills that they're learning, is not leading them there. Okay. So as an industrial psychologist, I make sure that not just their professional journey is good, but that professional journey also blends with their life journey. Their family, so that we do that life-work balance kind of thing as well. So we use the principles of psychology, but we're not there to counsel you, but we use the principles of psychology to make sure that you're on the right path.
One of the things you talk about is managing the emotional side of success.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about that emotional side of success. What does that mean?
I love this subject because a lot of times people think that we live in a society that does a lot or puts a lot of attention on the logistics, the mechanics of success. For instance, the first time I went into business for myself, I was immediately thrust into this whole big thing of learning how to write a business plan, learning my finances, you know, all of the stuff that the day-to-day operations of that business, you know, going back and getting MBAs and all that other stuff, the logistics, the mechanics of it. But when it came down to making that next decision, I didn't have anything to help me with my self-doubt. When the uncertainty of my decision making overwhelmed me, I didn't have that skill. That wasn't taught to me. So when I talk about the emotional side of success, I'm teaching people about those emotions that discourage or frustrate your efforts towards success.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what are some of those emotions?
Oh my goodness, I'm glad you asked, because I don't do all emotions. I only do those emotions that are going to, again, as I said, discourage you. Mm-hmm. For instance, self-doubt, the ambiguity that happens in being successful. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes the path in front of you is so dark, you don't know if the next step that I'm going to take is going to be correct or not. So a lot of times people cannot deal with the unknown. So the anxieties that come behind the unknown. We deal with a lot of the anxieties that come along with competition, rejection. And then, of course, people believe that perfectionism is a plus, but it's actually a minus. So we kind of help people on the areas of perfectionism, procrastination, those types of things that really hinder your efforts trying to be successful.
One of the things you mentioned is that you are a business owner, and you have been a business owner for over 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some of the things yeah, I was just born yesterday.
Aging me.
So what are some of the things that shaped you?
Oh, wow. When I first got into business for myself, it was something that I've always had an entrepreneur spirit.
Okay.
I remember when I was a little girl, I was going to had this grand plan for success. Didn't really know what it was, but I had a grand plan. I was not going to be the average woman that learned how to cook, sew, and clean house. I was going to be carrying an attaché case and high heels and suits. And I had no clue what that business was going to be, but that's what I was going to do. But I realized when getting into business for myself, no one in my family had been in business for themselves. I didn't have, I was met with a lot of naysayers, a lot of people who told me, you know, for instance, why are you doing that? You've never been in business. You're going to lose everything. And at first, that really caused me to step back, doubt myself. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, I want to do this. I really want to do this. And so I started telling people, listen, I never had a charge card until they gave me one. So I learned to use it. And that was my mentality. I was going to learn to be a good businesswoman. And of course, that came with a lot of price because, again, like I said, I learned the logistics, but I did not learn the emotional side that came along with trying to be successful, especially as a woman. And so there was a lot of times that while I had all of those logistical, mechanical trainings, I had all of the things that were supposed to, you know, make you successful. But nobody was in that room in my office when I was trying to figure out what was my next step. And it was that very thing. After losing that business, I had the business 9.5 years, lost it, decided, okay, I'm not going to let this get me down. I am going to get back into business, but I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to do it smarter and not harder, and got in there and flubbed again, just bombed again, lost everything, not once, but twice. And after that, I started thinking, wait a minute, what's going on here? While I was experiencing meager successes, I also realized that I had a lot of false starts. And that kind of upset me. That really made me angry. And I said, you know, what the heck is going on here? And that's when I took it to God. All right, now you tell me what's going on. And it literally led me back to college. And hence here I am as an industrial psychology.
Was that part of your revelation?
It was. It was. The biggest piece was realizing that, and I'll tell you where the revelation came in at, is on a plane coming from La Jolla, California. I had just attended an Achiever Circle weekend for those people who were serious business people. You were supposed to go and make sure that you were on top of things, and I wasn't on top of things. And so that's when it all came to me, that literally I realized after being in college and having all these things that while, yes, I had the logistics, as I said, but there was another piece that was missing. There's an African proverb that I absolutely love and live by, and it says, when you understand the whys of life, you can endure anyhow. And the why is what drove me to this point. And that's when I realized, you know, if you don't know the emotional side of that thing, then that's what really causes us the greater disparity, because we're trying to figure out, where do I go next? What do I do next? And most of the people that we surround ourselves by, they don't know. So we get upset with them because they are not supporting us, and they don't know how to support us because we don't know how to explain to them what we're actually going through. And so, and then don't throw in there that while I'm trying to be in business for myself, I now have to deal with the emotions of my kids. They're feeling my absence, especially as a mom. You know, and I was a single mother for most of the time that I was in business. Then that significant other, your partner, your husband's wives, I mean, you have to deal with all that too. And then the family members who now say, well, you think you're better than everybody else. And so it was a lot of stuff going on. So how do you deal with all that? You know, so yeah.
So when you got the revelation, when you understood the mechanics, but then you also applied your success, emotional side of success, what positive results did you see?
I think the biggest, probably the first thing was, and let me go back to when I was leaving La Jolla, and that was in 2001. I was at that point in time realizing that I was not where I needed to be. And that's when I was demanding to God, you tell me what's going on, because this is crazy. I've crossed all my T's, I've dotted all my I's, but yet I'm not there yet. What's going on? And that's when I heard, it's because you won't give yourself permission. And I'm like, what? Because you won't give yourself permission to do anything different, anything outside your familiar. Leave the comfort zone. Yeah. Give yourself permission.
Comfort zones are a box
Deadly.
of jail.
Deadly. And I was like, what? And by the way, you know, a shameless plug here, I'm writing a book on that.
Okay,
it will be out.
What's the title of the book?
Giving Myself Permission in Life, Love, and Success.
Okay.
And that's where it all began to make sense to me, is that, but there was also theory behind that as well. Why did I not? Why wasn't I giving myself permission? Why was I hesitant? Why was I afraid to step out there? You know, because there's this, I'm afraid of failure, I'm afraid of success, and there's always those two, you're juggling that all the time. So why? And that's what really, you know, when I got into, by halfway through my master's degree, I started running into a lot of different theories that started to explain what the heck was going on. And
Give us an example.
for instance, I ran into the theory of learned helplessness.
Okay.
I now in my book call it inherited weaknesses.
Okay.
And so there are things that we inherit. Like for instance, if you're my mom and you say to me, sometimes it's because you're wanting me to be safe or you're afraid for me, then you'll say, well, Pennie, don't do that because you might get hurt. Well, in essence, you're teaching me to be afraid, period. And the more you do that, sometimes, and it comes from two different levels, either the overprotective parent or the parent that believes that the child is going to somehow excel them.
Oh, yes.
So it's when you understand those dynamics, then you understand what's going on. And that's, you know, again, what I teach people when they're in my seminars and things like that. I'm teaching them, you know, going back to the African proverb, what is the why? When you understand the why, you can endure anyhow. You won't need a Pennie Murray or anybody else to tell you what to do next once you understand what and why is this occurring. And that's what I'm all about.
And is there another technique or principle that just really stuck out in your studies?
Another one was the fear of success.
Sabotage, I understand that.
Yeah,
Sabotaging your
the
own
fear of success. And you'll be surprised, a lot of my work is centered around, that's the core. That is the real core of a lot of my work, is that fear of success. You will be surprised. Now, sometimes when I say that to people, they're like, who in their right mind would be afraid of success? You'll be surprised. You would be surprised, because it's sort of like this. As long as I want to be successful, and I see that vision that I want way out there in the horizon, then I will work diligently to get to it. But the moment that vision becomes probable, it's just all I got to do is take that next step and it's going to happen. You will be surprised how often we sabotage ourselves. We do it unconsciously. Why? Because we have been conditioned to accept mediocrity, being average, or we're afraid of losing friends, or we're afraid that, well, how many times have I run into people like this? I've worked with people who say, I don't like successful people because, and they'll have all these lists of things, the reason why they don't like successful people. But then that's the same reasons that they don't like successful people, is the same reasons why they don't become successful themselves, because they're afraid that the same feelings that they have about successful people, others will have it about them. If that makes sense.
It does. It absolutely does make sense. One of the things that we think about the emotions that we deal with inside of the family and personally. So what are some of the emotions that correlate with success and family and personal emotions? How do the emotions differ or work together? See, because I know one of the things that we talk about in business is that the highest failure rate is among families and partnerships, among the legal structure. And I think it has a lot to do with what you're talking about, the personal emotions and the family emotions.
Well, you got to look at it like this, is that, you know, I would be more of personal, professional emotions. We go into the workplace and the workplace says the workplace is no place for emotions. But by nature, we are emotion-driven individuals, all of us. Our emotions drives everything we do, from something as simple as the brands we choose in the grocery store to the friends we select on a day-to-day basis. How we interact with people. A lot of times, the very thing that kills us, they say in the business world, is that you are hired for your skills, but many times you're terminated because of your lack of interpersonal skills.
Yes.
So again, where is that? That's emotions, that's feelings. And so while there is no place in the workplace for emotions and feelings, that's the very things that undo us.